Again, my name is Nate with the JCCH, and we're really happy to have Kei Ueda in town from Stanford, the Hoover Institution archive, and Dr. Ogawa with us. Um, so she can give background on their project, but it is a very cool project that as we lost another Japanese language paper again last year. So as we start to lose some of these resources from the community, it's nice that to know that there are institutions like the Hoover Institution and JCCH who are trying to preserve some of this work. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Kei and Dr. Ogawa, and they can kind of run through today's program.
This is Kei.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you very much, Nate, for a great introduction. I'm Kei Ueda. I work at the Hoover Institution Library and Archives at Stanford University. And I've been working with Dennis for about 6 years, particularly working on this Nippu Jiji photograph collection. I'll just hand over the microphone to Dennis to just talk about the journey he has made with this collection and its significance. And I'll talk about the little bit more the nuts and bolts of this collection later.
So here's my last time I was in this room. The Japanese Junior Chamber of Commerce had a meeting and introduced me. And the way it was introduced, Ogawa was introduced, was this person is not one of us. He's Kotonk, from the mainland. So I will always kind of have memories of this room. And in terms of the collection, the photo collection, the Nippu Jiji, to me it's always been like we were so lucky that these photos existed. The Nippu Jiji, the Hawaii Times, was one of the largest newspapers for the local Issei, the beginning of it all, community. And the Issei, the first generation, if one, like my students, and many of them were sansei, if they were interested in the past, we would need to understand the Issei experience. And so we tried very hard to explore more and more, about the first generation, the Issei. And this is 1980. One of my students came to me and said that his mother needed help. And he was asking for me to come meet the mother. And that particular student, he was a very good student who always came to class and, would always try to, learn in terms of the readings on Japanese Americans, So he brought me over to his mother's house. And the mother said she was with Nippu Jiji. And she was very sad because they were going bankrupt. And it was not a very nice bankruptcy. It was one where people were screaming at each other, and it was a tough bankruptcy. And so she was very, very sad. And the reason she wanted to talk to me was that they had a collection, a photo collection. And the owner of the Nippu Jiji was very, very, almost like a librarian. Every photo that they took to make a story or about a story, he would save. And then he would put it in an envelope, like a manila, but, and he would write down the date and who was in the photo. on the envelope. And then he would store it like a librarian, with an index and like a file, and do this. Because he felt that the Issei experience was so precious, and whatever the Nippu Jiji would do as a story and the photos he wanted to save as much as he could. But as time goes on, the collection grows, because the Issei population has grown. But with the bankruptcy, it just got very vicious in terms of people screaming at each other, in terms of where the money went and how could, and then people started calling each other names, and so it got emotional. So when it hit that point, they said, "Oh, forget it. Just burn everything, dump it." Rather than fighting over anything, just dump it. So they were just trashing everything. And this lady, the mother of my student, she was one of the officers, and she was very, very sad. But she had to do it because it was a court order and all that. They had to move out, and so they were just dumping everything. And all the photos, they just had to dump. So they were neatly filed, just like a librarian, and everything stacked, with also captions, so that if you were tracing a story, you can go, alphabetically and find something. And everything was there, but they just had to get rid of it fast. So to do that, they had to just dump it, like in a dump truck. And it was just one after another, it's just tossed. And then from there, it was just going to be dumped. And so the mother talked to me and asked a favor, was there any way I could think of saving it? And I was lucky because I had some students who said they would help me, as well. So I couldn't just do it all myself. And then I have, a local style friends, so I told them, "You owe me big time. You got to pay now. I got this project." And so my buddies, would come. But of course, it would be after beer and after all these other things. So we had physical, we can make boxes, but it was basically trash bags, and just put it, and then we put it in the truck. But something in my head kept on telling me it got to be air conditioned. Whatever you do, you got to store them air conditioned. You kind of just, even if you save them. So where do you get air conditioning? But of course, it was UH. So the University of Hawaii, Moore Hall was where my office. And right next to my office was a classroom. And any professor who was in Moore Hall was very spoiled. Everything was air conditioned. And so I got approval from the department if I can bring the photos, because it was air conditioned and that we needed them. Professors are kind of like, how can I say, they all look forward to summer vacation. And of course, some have to teach summer school, but no one wants to. They want the vacation because they get the same money and all this. So I made a deal with the department that if I could have a whole classroom, big classroom, all air conditioned, and if I can have it at least through the summer break, so it'd be more than a week. Okay. And the department said, okay, because I would then also teach summer school for the professors. And so I made that deal, which meant that we had an office that was air conditioned. And the office, we took all the chairs out and just the floor. And we brought in all the bags in all the boxes of the photos that were going to be thrown away. But they're all in like these kind of folder envelopes. And so it became a puzzle, like on a floor, you know, how to put them all together, like how they were neatly, you know, alphabetically, time-wise, you know, all these markings that they had. And we had to piece it together like a puzzle. So we spent weeks, you know, the whole summer vacation and all that. And we had to dump everything on the floor and then match it together. And the students were from Japan and very dedicated, good students. It was, and we would spend the whole afternoon or the whole day and going on to the next and the next, trying to put this puzzle together, which is, you know, putting things in alphabetical order and putting it in terms of, so that it would be like the file. But it took a long time because it was scattered all over. And I was very lucky, and I think I've always been very lucky with students, in that they said they're going to help, and they did. And we worked the whole summer vacation and were able to then construct boxes where we can at least put the file that way. And little by little, we were able to put the boxes in some kind of storage system. But even then, it becomes very hard just to store something, but especially if it has to be air conditioned and not too cheap. It's going to be expensive. So I was fortunate that I got involved with Nippon Golden Network, which was a cable, Oceanic TV. Some of you might remember, and then Kiku TV, Japanese programming. And what happened was that Kiku TV was going out of business, and they stopped showing Japanese programming, and that was a huge crisis for the Issei and for the elderly in Hawaii. It really hurt. And so Hawaii did not have a TV Japanese station, but I got involved with that because the Issei really needed to, you know, it was their sanity to at night or watch Samurai, this show. So for the kids, it was Kikaida, you know, and all the, you know, but it was all Japanese, and then the music. So certain business leaders in the community supported me, and we started Nippon Golden Network, which, you know, was like no one ever understood. It was this cable, you know, and you know, it was a whole new technology. But with that technology, we can bring Japanese programming to Hawaii. So NGN started to do that. But in order to do that, NGN had to build a studio. But NGN was very, very lucky because one of the business people who said they're going to help because the Issei needed help, and they deserved having, you know, Japanese television and all this. So they got involved to help bring Japanese programs. In order to do that, they had to build a studio, and the Hawaiians got involved, Kawaiʻau Plaza. And they left part of the whole office, Kamehameha schools, and they supported the building of Nippon Golden Network. And they left enough room for air conditioning. And so we were able to save the photos. And so that's how, you know, the story went. And it was all air conditioning. And little by little, we start collecting and putting everything together in boxes and filing. And then we, for the cultural center, because the cultural center was building, we tried to help with storage and air conditioning. and also combine it with helping the cultural center reconstruct. And that's, that building, Nippon Golden Network over here. And so it became the storage area. And little by little, we were able to go from preserving it in air conditioning to digitizing everything, because that's the future. So we, step by step, every photo we digitized. And that's all a labor of love, to doing it and having people, because it was a new technology. But we did that, and we stored the originals over here in terms of, we built like an air-conditioned vault, or a little sort of like a closet. And we just kept on trying to figure out what is the best way to maintain the collection. And at the same time, I was kind of going through systematically in terms of what photos and what seemed very interesting and very important that we got to make sure, they're not destroyed, and these sort of things. And my students would try to help as well in terms of sorting things out. And then everything was transferred to the Cultural Center. And I felt very good about that because of the chemistry of the Cultural Center, and everyone is trying to do their best to preserve the history. So that's where the photos were. But to store something and to maintain the storage is a huge responsibility. You got to always check the air conditioning. You got to be very careful if there's any leakage, of water or the humidity. But we were very serious. And so Nippon Golden Network built their studios with it, because you got to maintain a studio as well. And after a while, it started to come together that we knew every photo and we digitized. With the help of local companies. So they were digitized, and we were working on that. But it's exhausting, to do all this. And what happened? An angel from heaven came. I'm hitting on her. Is it? And this is Stanford, not to put down UH, but this is Stanford, and Hoover Institute, and it's saying that the Issei, they deserve that. Their history was something very important, and Stanford, just to Stanford get involved, that's a huge, sort of recognition of how important the Issei, and not only just to future generations, it's to the whole American history. So the angel comes from heaven, and it's this lady here, and I'm just saying, you are not my girlfriend. This is all perfect. But you're an angel. You're an angel from, and she works very hard. And Kay is very professional. So all the originals, all the ones that we saved in air conditioning and all, Kay was in charge. She brought them all to Stanford, the Hoover Institute. So all the originals are housed there in safety. And no one messes around with Hoover and Hoover Institute and all that. That's very professional. And then we started to do the digital, because that's the future. And as also anyone interested, it makes it more manageable to find the information, and that's what we're sharing with you right now. And I'm a professor that I feel more comfortable writing with a pencil, you know, of course, a computer, you have to do it, but Kay is a wizard, in terms of doing this in Stanford. So all the originals are housed at Hoover Institute, and they've all been digitized. And this is what we want to share with you, today. And if any of you are interested with the pictures and using it the most efficient, way for any kind of research, you're doing or interest, she's here to help. And I'm, as I look at the photos, I'm just so happy, And sometimes I, and this is not because I drink beer, but I start tearing up sometimes because I'll see a picture, and it really is. It's a picture like of a Issei family, and the kids, and before the war hits, these kind of certain pictures hit you, or you see like a store, and you know how it's really hard business to maintain a store in Hawaii, and the inventory, and the whole store is like a brewery, but it's all soda. It's all soda cans, and it's just huge, in that picture. And you look at that, and it hits you. The average Issei family was 6 kids to the family, and the kids love soda. And so the favorite drink, if you go by the Issei standard of actually buying drinks, it's not sake, and it's not beer, it's soda. So you see pictures like that in this collection, and then it tells you that the Issei, they're dedicated to the family. You see a lot of other pictures in terms of the kids, and they're dedicated to schools, like Japanese language school, or other schools that the kids will be going to. And this is like kindergarten and all that. And for me, I'm just overly sentimental because my grandfather used to walk me to kindergarten. And this is right after concentration camp. I was born in Manzanar. And I can always remember my grandfather just walking me to kindergarten, and it's because deep inside the Issei valued education.
Sorry, you have to moving away from the microphone.
I'm sorry. and the for the Issei, education was so important, and the Nisei and these photos kind of lead you to this type of thinking. The Issei, their highest value that they wanted to give to the Sansei, and of course the Nisei and the Sansei, was education, to value education. And so the kids growing up, which would be from the Issei, the Nisei, they would go to 2 schools. They had parents who, when they're just growing up in kindergarten now, they're going to Japanese language school, Japanese schools, and they're going to American kindergarten schools. And they really felt the Japanese Issei indebted to America because America was offering all these schools. And the kids were so lucky, to go to school as a kid and learn 2 different languages. I wish, I could have gone to school and learned 2 different languages. Now it's hard to learn, but to do that, then it became part of the kids, and the way the Nisei, will look at it. And all of you are familiar with that. It's not just going to one school growing up. Because of the Nisei, it was Japanese language and American school. But at the same time, the Issei and the photos kind of draw upon this as well. The Issei, they were not advocates of biracial learning. By that I mean that you go American school and you go Japanese school, both. But for the Issei, it's more than that. The Issei, they invested everything that they could for the kids, and it wasn't money, it was learning experience. And the Issei invested not in terms of biracial. That's not where they were at. It's called multicultural. They wanted them to go to public schools. They wanted to grow up with Filipino, with Chinese, with Korean, and the whole Caucasian atmosphere. And they had great teachers. That's McKinley High School. And they grew up with multicultural education. A lot of people don't see it, but the minute they see the Nippu Jiji photos, it hits you. We were really lucky. If you ever go, and if you're ever by Pensacola, you drive by Pensacola, that's McKinley High School on one side, and on the other side is the castle, Kochi Castle. McKinley High School is where the Nisei and the future generations of Japanese Americans learn to be democracy, America, freedom. And they learned, how great it is to be an American. And not because it was taught by racist ways of doing things. No, they felt very, very lucky. And they had great American teachers. But right across, and you can see it, the Kochi Castle, it was huge. It was Japan, and it was by Reverend Okamura and Japanese. And so it becomes a very multicultural. And I can talk, and some of you were my students, so I can just shut up, Ogawa. But the thing is, the pictures tell a lot. And when you look at the pictures, and you look at the eyes of the students and all, they were learning, and they were happy to learn. And then, they're very grateful in terms of, the environment that they're in. And that would become the Nisei generation. So that's what, these photos, I think can contribute to. Any questions? Yes.
It's very amazing that you were able to keep the pictures. Thank you so much for doing all of that work. Are there any other Japanese language newspapers from Hawaii that also have pictures, or is it only the one you mentioned?
Oh, Kate can answer that.
Well, so I work in the archives, and I talk to many possible repository institutions or groups or individuals. As far as I know, this is probably the only, at least of this scale, of the Hawaii-based Japanese photograph collection that exists today. There are probably smaller scale photograph collections, but I haven't seen this magnitude.
So the Japanese Americans and those who are interested in Japanese Americans in Hawaii are very lucky.
So did they cover all the islands?
Right. So I'll introduce you. There are two groups of pictures. One from the pre-war period, and those came from all over the islands. There are 4 islands, and the negatives we have recently digitized, about 5,000 of them. Really from just a snapshot between 1959 and 1961. There are we don't. We are still trying to figure out why that is. There is probably preservation issues, but I don't know why the negatives after 1961 did not survive or did not exist.
Were you able to identify the people who wrote the articles and get in touch with those people? You know, like editors and so on, you know, reporters.
We haven't quite gotten there yet. We actually, so from the first set of the actual printed pictures, there are about 25,000 pictures and organized in envelopes. And then most of them have the descriptions or captions on the back. So what we do is we read those descriptions on the back, and many of the, one of the reasons I became Dennis Professor Ogawa's angel from the heaven was I read Japanese. So a lot of descriptions from the pre-war period are actually in Japanese. But for this collection, we translate it into English, so it's bilingual descriptions.
I was just thinking that maybe descendants of those reporters might find something in the attic and they don't know what to do with those, and they don't know about this program. So to get this out into the community would be, you know, very beneficial for your project.
Yes, yeah, this is one of the reasons that we have a workshop like this. Actually, this is the first one we have done here in Hawaii. There was an exhibition in Japan at the National Museum of Japanese History about Hawaii, and then we featured the pictures from the 1930s. But this is the first time we do in Hawaii, so we hope this is a great way to reach out to you or to the descendant reporters and people to maybe look around in the attic or basement. There might be something that you might be find something new or about your heritage and family.
Yeah, and what's for the Cultural Center in terms of the museum, in terms of the different displays that the Culture Center has, photos can add to it and enrich it because people will get interested. Like downstairs, the museum sort of exhibit of the small stores, but everyone worked really hard when we did that. They're like these small family-owned stores that he says, so you have this fruit store, but it's all plastic, what we did and all that. And there's different stores. And for the National Museum of Japanese History in Japan, they created different stalls like that to show that there were these kinds of stores. However, in terms of statistics, the stores, the Issei created 2,000 stores. And these are retail family business stores. To have your own family business. Now, we're not talking concentration camps. We're not talking about sugar plantations and colonization and all these sort of things. We're talking about people who wanted to have their own business. And it's going to be family stores and family little kind of restaurants. And yes.
Grandmother on Kauai had a little store, and she was Issei.
Yes.
Yeah. But I'm wondering about how your collection of photos went once WW2, hit the fan. Like martial law kicked in, and who was allowed to photograph stuff, or did they stop that too? Because, like, I had all of 3 months of Japanese language school, after English school, because that's September, October, November, December, they shut us down.
Mm-hmm.
So I never really got to, you acquire the second language. The childhood years, you didn't speak Japanese. They wanted you to speak standard English, whatever that is. And of course,
Mhm.
everybody spoke that, I mean, during that time.
Mhm.
Now they speak it, but they think they're speaking real pidgin, but they, you know, it's doctored up, cleaned up pidgin.
Is she asking how much of a gap there was in the years between 41 and
When they picked up
when,
again.
yeah.
A gap between 41 and
During the
46,
war.
yeah,
What was the
during
gap?
war.
Like, did they go? Were they still
What did
taking
they do?
pictures during the war?
Because I have one photo of troops on Kauai,
uh,
you know. I haven't seen many.
Well, so some of the pictures do not have dates on them, so there's a kind of guessing game. But I'm basically responsible for creating the estimated dates, and I would typically put the hard stop on December 7th, 1941, and then there is a gap. I mean, during the wartime, I haven't seen a single picture.
So does that mean that the newspaper itself was closed?
Yeah,
Closed
Mhm.
down? I mean,
my neighbor was in.
Well, it was closed down, and it was the Hawaii Hochi and then Nippu Jiji, or the Hawaii Herald and Hawaii Times were allowed to reopen, but under the censorship, to be able to communicate with the Japanese-speaking population in Hawaii
during the war.
during the war.
But we had our neighbor that was a reporter for Nippu Jiji.
Mhm.
As soon as, of course, you know, the war hit, they picked him up. And we wondered, where's poor Mr. Iseri?
Mhm. Mhm.
They picked up a number of people in our neighborhood. Somebody who was the chef at the Kauai Inn,
Mhm.
somebody who was a contractor. A lot of poor people were just simply taken, and then we never knew where. Of course, my cousin also was taken.
Mhm. You know, the peak year for Issei and Japanese Americans, when they really saw daylight in terms of their dreams of creating a home in Hawaii and a community, being part of a community, and that was the 1930s. 1930s were the great years. The sugar plantation, they moved out of the sugar plantations, and they took the opportunity to help each other and build stores themselves and build restaurants themselves. Tanemoshino, and all this, and it was because they all helped each other, and it was that kind of bond, and so for the 30s, it's just amazing. 2,000 retail stores right in the 1930s, and 50% of all the retail stores, not only on Oahu but the neighbor islands, were Japanese, and Issei basically run, and families, family stores. And also, when you look at the history, and like when you look at 2,000 stores, how can you, when you do an exhibit with just one kind of model, okay, that's important, but for people to really understand, that Issei and how they worked, not just in the sugar plantation, but they had a dream to have their own stores, and the families together, somehow will succeed. And for the Japanese National Museum, they had this chart of all the different stores in terms of family stores, and also what kind, like carpenters or different kinds of those kind of stores as well. Right? So they had this chart, but with the photos, they can show all the stores. So you have this really chart that you trust, but to see the photos or you can really have a display that's, really nice. Okay, but then when you see these photos just flashing, and these are all family stores with mother and father and kids and working together or celebrating an anniversary, and the photos speak to that, and that makes the photos precious. At least, when the National Museum of Japanese History provided that, they were really happy, and I was just, it really made a message. Not that it's important that people understand the plantation and the situation that the Japanese faced there, but there's more to the story, and that's when they left the plantation. And you don't go through a plantation and kill yourself working if you don't have a dream, for more, huh? And you don't have not only the vision, but the guts. You got to really feel lucky that you're going to build your own store, and it's going to be a family store, and all your money's going into that, but that's everything you have. And they did that, but it was also, they had friends in the community, and people will help each other. And so there are a lot of, you'll see in the photos, different stores, but also different people around the stores. That there are customers that are really good customers in many ways. So
type of photos, what kind of photos mostly in the collection? It's what they are taken by photographer of the newspaper.
Yes, maybe. So I'm just gonna backtrack a little bit and then give you a little bit overall picture. But first of all, couple of people or organizations deserve mentioning because they've done a tremendous work helping us to get to where we are. The first of all, I manage the Endowed Japanese Diaspora collection at Hoover Library and Archives. So the endowment donor would allow us to commit to a long-term project like this, and so people know we wouldn't be going away. This is the in perpetuity project. And second, the Densho also helped the Hawaii Times Photo Foundation digitize the pictures, and then the National Museum of Japanese History helped us describe the Japanese descriptions and then help us translate. Well, actually, we translated it, but they described the Japanese transcription. So the pictures that let me see actually. So we feature all these pictures on the Hoju Shimbun digital collection, and there are the pictures are all open access, free of charge. You can see without even logging in anytime you like. But if you like to actually contribute your information, you can identify who they are or the places. You can actually register and then become a registered user. And then if you scroll down, so each picture has this information, who they are, the locations, the time period, as long as we can tell from the descriptions. And then if there is like a photo studio or the contributor listed on the back of the pictures, they are also, we list them as well. But at the bottom here, that you can actually, if you're a registered user, you can provide the information you can identify about these pictures, and then all this text would become part of the searchable text. So you would help us tremendously narrowing down the identification. So to answer this question, so the entire collection consists of, this is actually historically described collection names by the Nippu Jiji people. On the envelopes, largely, on the envelopes they say these are the Japanese Americans or the Japanese in Hawaii, living in Hawaii, or the gaijin. It's actually the pre-war terms that they actually used, and then as well as like the sceneries in Hawaii, sceneries in Japan. Sceneries in Hawaii include Japanese American or Japanese Hawaiian businesses. So these are the terms that we use, we borrow from the historically used organizing envelopes. So you can see there are many, many collections within this photo collection, and some of the most, of course, precious ones are the Japanese Americans and then scenery in Hawaii. Those are the pictures that are presumably taken by the Nippu Jiji photographers. But also the Nippu Jiji received a lot of pictures from Japan. So those are taken by news agencies or mostly news agencies.
You know, what was very interesting for me, you know, a college professor, and then college professors have other friends who are college professors, and I was very lucky that one of my buddies, his name is John Stefan, and John is an expert on Russia and Japan, and a real expert in terms of war and its language ability and all that. So whenever there was anything dealing with Manchuria or anything where Japan in conflict with Russia, I would talk with him, and he'd come to the office, and you know, we would, professors are lucky because we can just contemplate, you know, or just talk story, you know, and he freaked out when he saw the Nippu Jiji photos, because the Nippu Jiji photos had pictures of the Japanese in Manchuria. And that's because we're coming into the 1930s, these sort of, you know, time periods. The Issei, they wanted to know what's happening in Japan. They want to know what's happening with, you know, this war with Russia and Manchuria and all that. Okay? So the Nippu Jiji, they would get stories from Japan. They would work with the newspapers in Japan and other sources to bring news to Hawaii, because the Issei, they were really interested. They were international people as well. And the newspapers and everything that's happening out in Japan, and Japan's, you know, going to war with this nation or taking over this nation now, because Japan's on the move as an international power. What takes place here is that Hawaii people want to know what's happening. So they're counting on the newspaper. Okay, Nippu Jiji is going to help. So Nippu Jiji is going to work with the Japanese newspapers in Japan, or different Japanese news publishers in Japan, right? And they are going to be getting information, fresh photos, everything from Japan. And the reason is because the Issei, they really want to know. And the Issei will pay for it. It's American money. And there's, you know, so Issei would give the money. And so the Japan publishers, they want the money. That's American money. You know, it's like, so they would do whatever they could to give news and pictures from Japan to Hawaii. And these would be fresh, because the Issei wanted to know what's happening. It's amazing, this collection. So we worked with the National Museum of Japanese History, and when they saw some of these photos, they all fainted. They couldn't believe it. You know. And then I had nightmares, because it's like, I'm going to be murdered. because Japan, all the photos were destroyed. Atomic bombing, not atomic, of course Hiroshima, but I mean in terms of the fire bombings and all in Tokyo and all the newspapers, and they were all destroyed. Okay, whatever was in terms of photos and certain news in Japan, Japan loses the war. Everything they have, they're going to burn. They're going to destroy because they don't want people to say that Japan did deserve to lose because the way they messed up in Manchuria or did this or did that with the Chinese and really were evil and, you know, all this sort of thing. So there were a lot of photos and just a lot of news that were totally firebombed and destroyed, and that's all the firebombing in Tokyo. You know? So the newspapers didn't have anything except those pictures that were destroyed, and they were in Hawaii. They were sent. The Japanese government, they tried to destroy everything, you know, because they didn't want to be traced to the things they did. So there were a lot of pictures that Japan got rid of, and that was before the war was lost. And you know, like comfort women and all these sort of things as well, all these controversial things of Korea and China. And so when we opened up the Nippu Jiji collection to the Japanese National Museum, some of them fainted. They're supposed to be burned, you know, and some people would tell me, Ogawa, you're going to be killed. You know, they'll probably bomb the whole Japanese Cultural Center. No, I'm sorry, I didn't. But, you know, and just get rid of them there. And all, because all those, they didn't want the connections between Manchuria and, you know, what was happening with Japan, because Japan was naughty or, you know, doing some pretty evil things in themselves. And the way they treated the Chinese, the way they did the Koreans and all that. So these pictures were very, very convincing that Japanese were not nice people in certain situations. And so the Japanese government, you know, when they lost the war, they tried to burn everything. So they thought everything was destroyed. So then they freaked out because they were existing. And that was because of these Hawaii crazy people called Issei. No, but these are true. These are true stories. So I was freaking out. Then I have children, you know, my son and all, who, you know, kind of sometimes will listen to me, you know, just listen to what I'm doing, and they have really smart friends. My son went to Punahou, okay, and he was the first group with computers, okay. So my son ended up weird, you know. My other son, he went to McKinley. He came out normal, you know. But I shouldn't talk like this. But all I'm saying is that the Punahou kids, when they got a hint, you know, these photos and all that, what they said to me, you know, was try to save all the photos that the Japanese try to burn up, because they're going to be worth a lot of big money. A lot of big money. Because what's going to happen is that when China or Korea annihilates Japan, all China's going to do in Korea is, look at these pictures. That's what these Japanese did to us. They deserve to be annihilated. Okay, so that's my Punahou son. Punahou, again, they don't come out normal. So you get all these sort of things happening with these photos. And part of the story is that these photos say a lot. You know? And if you have professional eyes, like historians, like the National Museum of Japanese History, when they looked at the photos, okay, they saw things like, what kind of uniform is that? They knew. Or what kind of weapon is that? They're not supposed to be those kind of soldiers. All these things, they knew just by the photo. You know, and because they're the National Museum of Japanese History. Um, and so you're welcome to look at these photos, but if you're assassinated, you know, but there's all kinds of different things happening once we started to, you know, explore this. And it all comes to the Issei wanting to keep contact with the mother country and finding what's out. And also Nisei and Issei and just the community building in Hawaii, sharing information and trying to help each other.
Shall we play the video? I made a short video clip from the recently. This is actually the first time we show these digital images which were digitized from the negatives, because we didn't know what these negatives were really about, because some of them are really stuck to each other, and then we have to go through the process of making sure they are, you know, separate and digitized. So you are probably the first audience to be able to see these pictures. But I made a short clip just to kind of lighten up the visually. It. So I like to actually, this is I'm very humbled to be able to show these pictures in front of the people in Hawaii, because you are my teachers, that you who tell me what you know about these pictures, and hopefully I can do it live. As you tell me, maybe I can actually put that into the data. So you are responsible for this process. Maybe and if these are like completely sort of not quite hitting the right place, then maybe I'll try to come up with different pictures. But let me see. Can you see the pictures? Yeah.
Making them larger is better rather than smaller.
Okay.
For me.
Do you know where that was taken?
No, because well, some of the negatives were organized in envelopes, with very, very short descriptions. But you know, as you know, the negatives do not have the sort of the back end to describe anything. So these are really as they are. Yes.
The one on the truck that actually advertised the group as the Fukushima Gondans people,
Uh-huh.
is there
Let me see.
an index for those
So okay, let me.
divisions and special interest groups that were identified with Japanese provinces?
Okay, maybe this might.
It could be the Aloha Week parade or else one of those
You-
annual parades
Right.
that they join in.
Do you think these are Aloha Week? Not a cherry blossom, right?
I don't think they had parades for cherry
Pros-
blossom.
This There's my pictures.
Okay.
Alamana Shopping Center opened up.
So Aloha Week, Alamana
Not
Shop.
necessarily Aloha Week, but that float was something from one of the
Mm-hmm.
parades. King Kamehameha Day Parade,
Right.
Aloha Week Parade would be joining them.
So what I do is we are still in the sort of estimating or guessing stage. So what I do, if you see this collection, and you can actually contact me. You have my contact information to correct, but I put in bracket, which is the whatever the what we call metadata creator is actually the their estimated sort of a description. Okay, so I'll take a note of that, and then how about Shinto? I think the Shinto. I don't know if this actually shrine was built in the end, but this was the model that was presented. You don't recognize this Shinto priest?
But there are several.
Several. No. Should I zoom in?
No, I wouldn't recognize.
No, doesn't help. Okay, so this is actually it's a parking meter, right? Can you?
That's Meow Sensei on the left.
Let me actually. Meow. Let me actually
Izuma Taisha.
realize it's the one the farthest left.
Farthest left.
Okay. Any hint for the location? Actually,
More than likely downtown.
this is a Waikiki shell. Ah. So
It's cherry blossom.
Can't be Waikiki Shell.
can that be?
No, there's a clothier store on the left.
So there's something here. Pat.
I tried to think.
Oh, annual cherry blossom, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's cherry blossom.
Cherry blossom.
Right. So I don't know what's really going on here. Can you guess? I think these are probably cherry blossom queens on the right.
They look too old. No, I promise. I promise. Usually like 20s, right? Early 20s. At this time, they're more younger, so they're probably like in their early 20s. Cherry blossom.
Yeah, these are so like if you take a time trip, this is between 1959 and 1961. Right. So it's some of the sort of a ceremony or something during the cherry blossom festival.
Yeah, it could have been. So even now, their opening ceremony, they'll have a Shinto blessing as the opening of the whole festival. So this
Could be.
could have been part of the opening of the first event of the festival. They'll usually have a Shinto blessing.
Do you know where that might?
I don't know where that is.
You can look at the lamp. There's words on the lamp.
There's the lantern.
But there are a lot of sakura like on those lanterns, so I would assume it is the cherry blossom festival.
Right.
It's just I don't.
But these are fake.
Oh no, I
Artificial.
On the lamps too. On the
Oh,
lanterns
right.
in the background, they have them painted on.
Okay, so
Just don't know where they are, but
okay, so the next one. This one is he looked a little bit distinct. So do you have you? Oops, sorry. No. No. Okay. This one is a lot more, I think it's difficult to. Any building information? How was it? It's actually, he must be a lucky guy. He's the only one.
Would that be Bill Quinn? No, no.
I cannot, I mean, there are name tags, but I can't, yeah. Okay. So, but there's a mother, was a couple of guys here, but it seems like a mother, I don't know, women's club. Okay, so. I think that Liberty House? Department store? No?
Maybe Ritz.
What about Ida?
Is there something here that's
No, try on the, go to the left of that.
meadow gold?
No, on the left of that.
Left?
There's, there, on the,
Side of the cash register.
on the side of the cash
Oh.
register is something.
L? Look? Yeah, I think it's look. There's a lot of children's books. There's a lot of cash registers though. It's really like one after another.
If there's milk carton, so metal gold would be milk. I would say it's probably like Times or some kind of supermarket that has milk. That's
There.
my guess.
There's this scale.
Yeah. Produce, right? They're weighing the produce price out. So I would assume it's a grocery store, especially if there's multiple lines.
Right.
It's just a matter of which grocery store.
I think there are scales too, so they must be
Yeah,
weighing
they're
like a
weighing the
produce, right?
To price out the produce, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of which store it is. but
Right.
It does look like a
Oh,
grocery store.
my in-laws shopped at Gem. Remember that? Gem store? On Ward?
Yeah, I only moved here in early 2000s, so I think Gemstar was. I didn't remember Daiei before.
Okay.
Yeah, these are all pre-me.
For you.
This is before myself.
Stadium. This the walls.
Andrews, yeah. UH.
Andrews Amphitheater.
Andrews Amphitheater.
Are they concrete benches?
Yeah,
Those are stone benches that they
Concrete
have.
benches.
That's concrete benches.
Yeah, concrete benches, and in the walls are like, yeah.
Stone.
I thought that guy was on a cell phone.
Oh.
It looks like he's on a
Oh.
right there.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
No, the other one too. I guess they listen to radio, but I thought he was on a cell phone. I was like, is he on a cell phone?
Oh, this guy
That
here.
right there, like
Oh, I think there's like a radio or something.
Those are transistor radio.
Transistor radio.
It just said first glance. I was like, he looked like he was on a cell phone.
You weren't even born yet.
Oh, I think too. A lot of people are actually listening to. What kind of event would this be? If some people listen baseball.
No,
Not in the
no, not
amphitheater,
in
but,
the amphitheater.
Not in the end.
Might have been a speech or.
You didn't have that.
I don't know, Punahou has some benches like that, old ones.
It's like 1, 2, 3, 4. At least 4 people are listening to the transistor radio.
Maybe a different high school. It's mostly men.
Yeah, it's mostly there is a
It's probably sports.
there are, people don't seem too excited though.
But that was about the size of the first cell phone.
Yeah, I remember the bricks. I do remember the brick phones.
Okay. There is a Oh no, this I thought it was a flagpole, but no. Um, this is says Aloha Week here.
1961.
Oh, 61.
I was wondering, who is this?
What's his name?
Chin Ho.
Chin Ho. Oh, Maui Chai.
Chin Ho. Chin Ho. With two N's, I think, I believe.
Hmm?
Okay. Yeah, Aloha Week 1961. Any other people?
Was he the owner of a newspaper? Chin Ho?
Part of the finance
Mm.
guy.
Okay.
Hmm.
This one, there are so many pictures about this Hiroshima City delegation to Hawaii, to Honolulu, because they were sister cities, or they became sister cities. And I think this guy is the mayor of Hiroshima, and dedicating wreath. But I thought it might have been the punch bowl, but then I cannot find this flag post.
Hmm.
He was the delegation was here strictly in Hawaii, and then more the Honolulu, because they are the sister city.
She meant Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor.
Hmm.
There are graves, you see the graves between his arms?
Hmm.
There are grave
Hmm.
markers. No,
Yeah, yeah.
further back.
Oh, that's Punch
So
Bowl.
I think this is
That is
Punch
Punch
Bowl.
Bowl.
Punch bowl.
Yeah, because you see the headstones
There is a
right
big flag
between his
pole,
arms.
and you go
Between his arms.
inside.
Oh,
You see all the flat headstones,
Yes.
markers, all the flat markers that are kind of
Okay.
on the grass
Hmm.
between his arms.
Hmm.
is there still the flag post? Because I couldn't find it.
I don't know if it's that flag
I
post.
don't know.
Yeah, might be.
There is one.
But
There's
that kind
a
of
very
does.
big one when you go
Oh, okay,
through the.
right.
I mean, those are markers between his arms. Those are
Mhm.
look like headstone markers.
Hmm.
The road is probably
flat
the
and-
same.
Punch Bowl has those flat ones. They're all the
Mhm.
flat.
Yeah.
The flat ones.
Okay.
It's kind of fun.
We're getting good mileage
You guys
out of
can put
this.
on, by the way, so we can share with everybody who attended the website link to the collection, so that you can go and do this on your own. You have 2,000 of these?
Well, we have 5,000 negatives that are poorly described. We have 25,000 pictures that are probably better described. Some of them are lacking descriptions, but the negatives, as you can tell, are more problematic. But
We do have about 15 more minutes.
okay, yeah, I think we're pretty good in that. So I think this, again, the delegation from Hiroshima, I believe the one on the right is probably deputy governor of Hiroshima, but the one on the left is probably a member of the Japanese Chamber of Commerce here in Honolulu, but I cannot, he keeps appearing on many of the pictures. That's why I put him out here.
And the fellow laying the wreath was very tall, slender man, maybe that.
I think he's from Hiroshima, actually.
Hmm.
I think they magically grew a little bit more. Is this the restricted area? Right. Oh, here's a lucky.
It's probably a chamber then.
Maybe because of the beer that it's restricted.
Maybe a chamber of fish beers.
Okay, so if you can remember this guy on the left, because he's gonna be all over the place.
Do you have photos of your passport?
Hmm?
Do you have photos of your passport?
No, well, the chamber is different, right? So we
Yeah.
would have a lot of their stuff.
But if you go down to the resource center, there are books there.
There are books about the chamber in there, and you probably would, if you cross-reference them with like UJ, well, UJS
this person in the middle, he also appears on quite a few pictures. And he seems to be ye- distinct. Distinct. Okay. I think this one, judging from the cake, it's somebody's birthday, but the maybe her birthday. I don't. But seems like this kind of Issei lady here.
So when you go on the website and you're browsing this, you said we have to register?
Well, you can browse as much as you like without registering, but if you like to contribute information and to make it as part of the searchable text, you would have to register. But the registration is really pretty simple.
Name and address.
Yeah, basically the email and the login, and then yeah, you can make up your nickname or it doesn't have to be true. Well, you have to be able to receive the confirmation email in your email account, and that's really what it takes to be a
I'm
registered.
thinking of doing this, but with my uncle,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know these people, but he might know them. So
Yeah, that would be
long
really great.
process.
No, it should, hopefully it should be straightforward. If you have any questions, please let me know, but it should be pretty straightforward.
Who has the copyright of these pictures?
Oh, I'll be sued, yeah.
Okay, you have the copyright.
It depends on if it's educational and, all those sort of things.
But yeah, if
And there's
someone
copyright
wants
laws.
to use photo from correction, who that person needs to contact with to get the permission of that's a basic idea of a copyright.
Yeah, but it only lasts for so long, right?
No, but
Yeah.
his question is,
Mhm.
are you the one issuing digital or rights
Yeah,
to other
digital
people to
rights.
republish any of this, or is it the Hoover Archives now that owns the rights to the intellectual property? Like who actually grants, like the research center will grant permission to entities to use photos in our collection.
Yes.
Sometimes for a price, if it's for educational,
Mm,
usually free. So, but that's from JCCH granting the access. Who for
Yes.
this collection grants access?
Hmm.
Should I answer?
Yeah, I think
So
Kay can handle it.
the Hawaii Times Photo Archive Foundation is the copyright holder. So it grants the foundation grants if you want to use these pictures for your publication, for example, it grants the permission. But I do the administrative work for the foundation, so you can contact
So
me,
you're the contact person.
right?
Yeah.
As well as Dawn, who sits in the back. We work together. She represents the foundation for the administrative work.
Was that Dawn?
Dawn.
Oh,
But yeah, I'm the first point of contact. This lady, she has this what is it, clock and a radio, but it's a lacquerware I think going on in the back, and Chinaware. So I don't know.
That's Gems department store with Japanese wear in the back and then transistor readers in the front. But I don't think Shirokiya was open yet.
No.
Yeah, I don't think Shirokiya was open
Mm-mm.
yet.
Gems was opened in the
Hmm.
60s.
And all in one shopping center.
Jen was quite doing it.
Yeah,
Way from.
but in the late 60s.
This is probably 1960, 61.
They
It-
weren't open.
It's
No, Jen was
Open 61?
in the late 50s, 60s,
Oh.
by Dillingham.
what's is the full jam?
Gem.
Just jam?
Store. Department store.
Okay.
Gem of Hawaii.
we have many pictures like this with lace. That was my guess, but I don't know who they are. So let me see. He seems to be a teacher. Maybe elementary school. Oh, there is some description here. Station Mita. Mata Bira. Oh, age 11. So this is the boy's name who drew this. Okay, so we are almost the end. So I guess oh yeah, I think he appeared before. He was sitting in the middle, and then probably a member of the Chamber of Commerce in Honolulu. No. Nobody's parents, father, grandfather. Here, this one was. Oh yeah, I think we identified as King Street.
Maybe
Is that?
probably looks like downtown? Or
Do you all agree? Is that Sears on the left?
writing on the left? Yeah.
Is this just a this one? Right, it's cut off.
More than likely downtown.
Yeah.
Those were the only places with tall buildings.
Christmas time, they used to string the lights across the street.
Oh. I don't know why, but this scenery. Oh, actually, it says Pier 12. So, but this parking, is it parking lot, right? It keeps appearing. I don't know what was the significance back then. I don't know. There seemed to be in 1960, 61. There seemed to be been a fascination with parking or converting into a garage, like open space parking being converted into a garage seems to be a topic of the day.
That's Nimitz Highway. Nimitz Highway.
So is that Aloha Tower parking?
Behind here was
Yeah, that's all.
Because
So
Pier
that's
12,
yeah, right to the left would be Aloha Tower.
so maybe that's parking for Aloha Tower.
oh here's it says something I can't
Yeah,
read.
that's the main,
Matson.
Matson boat launch, where the Matson.
Oh, so that's on the right-hand side of Aloha Tower, right? If you're looking at
Where the ships get.
The Matson liners would
Yeah,
dock.
I know exactly where that is now. That's right on the right-hand side of Aloha Tower.
Yeah.
Where the dock, where the ships still dock.
And that's where they would jump off the boats, to get coins.
So is that parking now like where
There's still a little bit parking.
Pacific
there.
Guardian Tower is right there,
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
or ANFAC?
I think
the
it's
ANFAC
a
Center
turn
or whatever.
around. You
Yeah,
know,
but it's a building now where this parking lot is, right? It's one of the
Some of
office
it,
buildings,
yeah.
right? Maybe that's why they took the picture of the parking, because they're gonna build a office building, right? The parking lot is probably where an office building is now. But it's right across the downtown.
It seems like a lot of sort of open space conversion into the buildings, garages. So they were, I guess, documenting pre-construction.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Because that parking lot is definitely a building right now.
Great. So
Looks like they've just refinished it though.
I know the asphalt seems pretty new. But yeah, so that's the end of, well, I have a lot more pictures, but this is sort of give you a little bit taste of what it's like. And I am so excited there. I got a great response. And I hope, we can do it again. There will be more pictures to show.
So, Kay, just to clarify, so the website is on the handout. They're on the handouts.
Right. So maybe I'll just, it's easy to show you where to locate. So if you go to the Hoji Shimbun digital collection, that's on the URL is on the, actually on the bookmarks. And then you go to browse button, and at the bottom it says you can go to Nippu Jiji photo archives. And then from there, you have lots of pictures to choose from, but the ones that might be of your interest are Japanese Americans and scenery Hawaii. Yes.
And these most recent ones that you've just found are in that?
In this, right. And then the ones that are particularly to us the problematic are the ones that we put in brackets. So that's completely missing the descriptions, and then we are just kind of describing what we see on the pictures, but we could be completely, I wouldn't say wrong, but a little bit off. So I would welcome your corrections. You can email me. My email address is on the bookmark as well.
Can I? I'm sorry.
Sure.
This is really off track, but I was the star student in Ogawa's class in the 70s. No. I was. No, I was. But I'm sorry. I apologize. But what I have here in terms of Nippu Jiji, when they went bankrupt and they closed down everything, this is what remained. Some of the Nippu Jiji pictures of them publishing on New Wano Avenue, their office building and what they looked like. And believe this or not, that building was 2 stories. They didn't have any phones or anything else. So what they did, what do you think they did with this? Megaphone from the second floor, which was the publishers or the editors, they would yell down to the printers, "Start the press." Okay? So if you're just interested, and I apologize for this, and no, I wasn't the star student, I almost failed this class.
So thank you everybody for coming, and please, if you have questions, please contact Kay about the collection. Thank you.